Hey guys, the jig is up. I've been caught. That's right. Coach Crimson, now called Jailed Crimson, is a data miner. I'm sorry, boys. I'm actually streaming this from a penitentiary, high max security prison, and as punishment, the prison guards have given me a computer, told me to stream, and they said, "Tell the world what you did." I'm sorry, guys. I know this is a really great disappointment, but punishment's a punishment. I'm gonna tell you what I did. So, back in February 22nd of 2021, I was scrolling Twitter and I saw a tweet from Shrugtle, a zone map. And at first I thought, wow, these are every single zone in the game. I'm gonna win the World Championships. But then actually, when I used my brain and read it, it said, this is where the zones cannot end in season 10. So I was like, okay, it's pretty cool. What does this mean though? What does this mean? What does this information mean? So yeah, this came out February 22nd. This is essentially a zone of where the zone cannot end, and there's one for every map. Um, And if you're paying attention, February 21st is season 12. This map is from season 10, which is really important because there's a lot of updates to it. So the first thing that should come in most of your guys' brain is, hey, where are the newer versions? Well, that's what I said at that time. So I asked some coaches and stuff about the newer version. They said, no, you're not part of the ALGS team. You cannot have the newest ones. So season 13 came out. It was the Storm Point season. I was really interested because that was the season where ranked was changed. People were actually getting to end zones, and I can literally map out what changed. Because if you're using your brain here, you're kind of noticing some things that aren't actually correct, right? So if you see this, it's season 10, but in season 13, we had tons of end zones that happened here, right? Tons, right? So why is there this giant red circle that says the zone can't end here, but you're watching ranked in season 13 and seeing that there's multiple end zones like here, here, here? Well, that's because, like any person would say, that's because they updated the zones per season. And if you want my opinion on the whole pro drama, I'm not going to give you my whole opinion because it's a little bit long. But those pros have seen this tweet from February 21st, or sorry, February 10th, 2021, because if they saw this picture and then used their brain, which a lot of them can do, but some don't, they would have realized that there's zones like the command center that had end zones there. All right, that's because ALGS, or sorry, ALGS, EA or Respawn rather, updates the zones a lot to figure out what zones they don't want in the game, which zones are bad and don't follow their philosophy. Right. Another example is right here. There's a zone that ends right here. All right. A zone that ends literally right here on this little chink. So if you talk to Raven or talk to C-Line back in the day, let's go back in time and ask them, and you ask them for this map, they'll probably tell you that they won't give you the map, but what you can do, and what I did, is just make your own, right? And that's what I did. I started making my map. I'm not gonna show you because that's all my hard work down the drain. Um, I literally started watching stream. I spent only a day doing this, and in my rank games, maybe a week actually, but like a day of getting most of them, where I just starred on the map what parts of the zone that I saw where they end. Then not only can you get a map of where they cannot end, you can get a literal map of where they do end, and you'll notice some commonalities that certain zones have a higher percentage of certain seasons, right? That last season 13, I saw so many zones appear, and I've literally never seen one since then. Maybe one, right? So that's why I think it's really disappointing with some of these pros is they have a full-time job to play this video game, and they don't want to do any analysis work, right? There's a lot of coaches that aren't even in pro league yet, or even in calendar circuit league that do this stuff for fun, like me. It's just like kind of fun to look at the zones and guess, right? Because of the zone logic, how Stormpoint works, right? If you go to Stormpoint, usually the zone goes like this, right? It's a really fun guessing game, right? If you have access to this map to watch a stream and say, hey, I wonder where it's gonna end. Because to me, that's fun, right? Because you have the logic of what it's gonna pull, right? Like right here, I can already tell you all the zones that I know in this corner of the map, right? And as you do it, not only, I mean, I've done there's a psychology experiment that I've seen. The more you write down and review stuff, the more you remember it, right? They have a thing where if you write something down, there's a 20% more chance that you remember it. I'm not sure how accurate that is. This is some statistic I found out when I was in high school, so I'm not sure. But in my mind, I was like, fuck it, let's do it, right? So there's like little zones on this corner of here. I think there's one that ends right there. There's one that ends right there. There's one that ends literally on that line right there. Like, there's so many zones And again, they're common. Like the one common one I see a lot that people probably see a lot is this one right here. This one that cuts the circle here like that, and it ends right there. And there's usually a team inside the building here. I've seen APAC play this room, and the people that play here usually die because this team shoots them out. There's a rat spot right there that shoots them out. Teams here have a little bit of angles there, and then probably some weird team under here. You just get angled out, and then high ground can look down because you can't move. So you get a lot of spots. So yeah, so let's look at this a little more. Let's figure out what can we extract from this, right? If you've seen Nick Merckx' video, he has a video of like, are you gonna pull this video on your side monitor and watch story playing ranked? Oh, okay. Oh, guys, we can't. The zone doesn't end here in a checkpoint. So I'm gonna jump off checkpoint because that's not a spot to hold. Like checkpoint is just it's not in, right? None of this is in. We can't play that. No, that's not really true, right? Like why? This is literally high ground that can shoot down all these locations, right? Like this is really good prime real estate, right? Why would you give this up just because you can't play in an end zone, right? Because you want to shoot your location out, right? If you want to play a certain spot, you can shoot and clear it before you rotate to it, right? If you play low ground, ultimate low ground, you're just getting shot by all the other teams, right? Another thing about this map that's really important is macro, right? You can't just look at this in a vacuum and say, oh, because of this, I can choose what spots I don't want to play, right? If I'm dropping Shipfall, but there's an end zone here on Lightning, all these teams on the north side of the map is going to have priority over it, and I'm not. So at the end of the day, is it really going to matter what spot I get to choose that's not going to be in zone? No, you're going to have to pick and choose what's handled to you and kill teams and wipe them from that spot. So like with all this drama, you have to understand that with this map comes macro that needs to be done and homework that needs to be done, especially as pro teams, to get the spots you need, right? It's very useful for ranked, let me tell you. If you're a ranker and you want to get to pred and you're not very good at shooting people, this is really good because you can figure out how you want to play the map based off of it, right? And let's take a look here. I've been alluding to this point the whole time, but there's a logic to these end zones that you should know about. Some of the logic that you should know is heal-offs. Respawn hates heal-offs. Heal-offs occur in buildings with multiple floors. So generally speaking, they do not want buildings where 2 floors can be held for heal-offs, right? And that's why it's weird they took out Command Center for Season 13 because they had end zones here because that was technically a heal-off spot. Right, but like here, heal-offs, like building, like all the buildings. And mountains. Look, mountains. We don't like mountains. And then there's other exceptions like this weird spot in the middle of the ocean. They must hate that. There must be someone who dropped a penny there and they want people to go there. But like buildings, right? So that's pretty much it. Buildings and mountains don't that's where zones can end, right? So using this information, you can go to the new rank map, which I've done a lot. Buildings. So if you're near a building, don't hold it. End game. And but that's the funny part because you can't hold it, right? Let's give an end zone that I played. I played an end zone that was like this one time. Right? What building here is pretty strong to hold? All the walls on the left side, all the buildings on the left side are really strong to hold. But what I did was, me and my team, we came in, we cleared this building, we held production, and then our goal was to go hold this building, right? Or no, sorry, our goal was to shoot all people off this building, right? So as we got to ring 3, or sorry, ring 4, or ring 2 rather, ring 2, ring 3, I think it's ring 3 actually, sorry, I apologize, I'm like forgetting. So as ring 3 right here is ring 3, we realized we should just take it early, right? We can't shoot teams from warehouse on Gulch to front this team, like, 'cause they're too far, so we just went and took it early. Then we realized shooting people from here is so easy. Like the walk up from here to here is really hard. The walk up from here to here is hard. We didn't have to worry about this team on Gulch because they just didn't have good angles on us. They couldn't zip up because we killed them. We just bullied all these teams. And guess what the enemies did? The enemies just killed each other for us. There was like teams over here, teams over here. They started fighting each other, and we just had free shots on them, also pressuring them, like shooting them, like, hey, kill each other, right? And then we know because the zone ends in front of this building, we can harass everybody and make them fight for the spot first, and we can have a free walk up to it later on, right? So when you see the rumors of data mining and blah blah, I mean that's all it is. It's just where the zone can't end, right? You, as the player who's interested in this data mining now that it's in the news, is responsible for making your own map full of end zones and figuring out how you want to play the game, right? Like I said, I have a map. I can literally tell you like a lot of end zones on this map. Not that I know all of them, but that there's a lot. Let me show you another map that's really important. Let me see if I can find it. Give me a sec. Sorry, I have black screen. I apologize. Oh wait, no. Let me unblack my screen. Trying to leak anything. I apologize. Probably would have been really nice to have this before. But here you go. I found it. So if you're like me, you're like, wow, Coach Crimson, I can go ahead and map this whole thing and figure out every single zone that's possible for Storm Point. Yeah, you could, but it's gonna take a long time because there's variations, right? These are clusters of zones, right? So there's an area that could be common. There could be only certain spots in that zone cluster, right? Like let's say you get a zone like this, right? You know that it's probably gonna end in one of these clusters, right? But the problem is there's just so many. There's like so many individual ones, right? You don't remember each individual one. You just remember the area, or you go, oh, the zone ends here. Because what's the difference between here? That's actually a terrible example. What's the difference between these two yellow, right? Overall, the map area that it encompasses is pretty close. Same with this. What's the difference between all these three? The whole area is pretty much like it's gonna play the same, right? If the zone, like each movement to the right is gonna play slightly different because of this part right here, but the part of this team being in a shit spot and out in the open still stays the same, right? It still stays the same that this building is going to be prime spot. As you move to the left, yeah, that's a different story. This spot will comes out of play a little bit, but again, you play it like by the zone you have, right? The general idea is to get to an end zone with this in it, and then you play flex, you play off your memory because you just can't remember it. Or if you go to this mountain, like this mountain plays the same. The higher you're on the mountain, the better you are. Lower on the mountain, the worse you are. So like that general idea for all these circles generally maintains the same, right? And that's like the really important part about all of these zones is right is they mostly play the same. Like I said, it is kind of interesting, right, that each patch they will edit these zones. So the big controversy of some of the better tier analysts having access to this has some merit of discussion to it. But at the same time, to be quite frank, these teams didn't care about this in the first place, right? If you didn't come to the conclusion that I just came to the beginning of the video, like, oh, season 10 map. Oh, is there newer season maps because that zone changes? Like, if you don't go through that method of thought process, you're kind of at a loss anyways. I don't think you really cared, right? But most people like me came to the conclusion like, oh, Down Beast is not in this map. Is there a newer version? Which goes to say, oh wow, maybe I should ask someone who probably knows this, right? And I DM'd Raven myself because I knew Mofoco probably had it. And he said, sorry, Crimson, you're not, it's not publicly available, but go ahead and map your own. I don't think he said that to me, but I came to that conclusion myself, and then in stream he, talked about it. But like, it's just naturally obvious what you have to do as an analyst. And then my interpretation was, if I can come up with my own map, and then go to him and say, hey, I'm not just a freeloader, because that's what happens in the coaching world is people come to you for information, and they say, gimme, 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 and then you say, do you have anything to exchange in exchange for this? And you're like, no. It's like, why am I going to talk to you, right? I have a lot of people coming up to me like, they're like, gimme, 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 and I'm like, do you have anything to talk about? Because there's not always a situation where you need something in return. It's about a conversation. That's what coaching is, conversation, right? And this is why fundamentally I dislike the conversation with Sweet and Raven because it really just kind of came off as like Raven going or Sweet going, gimme, 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 and Raven going, ho ho, do you want to listen about what you're talking about first? And he's like, no, go to jail. I know I know Sweet didn't actually say go to jail, but the memes are out there. It's hard to avoid. Anyways, hope you like this video. The video I just made will hopefully get me out of prison. So if you don't hear from me for a while, it means that this video was in vain, and I hope you guys learn from it while I'm in prison serving my time. I'm still waiting for my trial to figure out how long I'm going to be in jail for.